All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're looking at a pretty radical solution to one of humanity's oldest, most fundamental problems. How do we get enough fresh water? And the answer, it turns out, might be hiding in a place we've barely even looked, the deep, deep ocean. Now, we all know that water is precious, right? But it's kind of hard to wrap your head around the actual scale of the crisis. We're not just talking about a few droughts here and there. This is a massive, fundamental stress on our entire global system. Just let this number sink in for a second. 2.7 billion. That's how many people on this planet face serious water scarcity for at least 1 month every single year. A problem this big, well, it demands a completely new way of thinking. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When the rivers and reservoirs start running dry, where do you go? Where can we possibly find a huge, clean, and basically untouched source of fresh water? Well, that brings us to the core idea of this whole project, tapping the deep ocean. Now, this isn't just another giant desalination plant on the coast. No, this is a totally different way of thinking about water, harvesting it from a source that's been sealed off from our world for centuries. So what is deep ocean water exactly? Well, the name says it all. It's water that's sourced from way, way down. We're talking 600 meters or more. And what makes that so special is that at that depth, it's completely cut off from all the stuff polluting our surface water. Microplastics, industrial runoff, all of it. It's naturally incredibly pure. And the way they plan to collect it is pretty ingenious. Instead of a huge, permanent factory, the idea is to use a mobile water factory. Think of it like a giant ship that can go wherever it's needed, drop a pipe down 600 meters, and start pumping out 1 million liters of pure water every single day. And because it's mobile, it can be sent directly to crisis zones. The process itself is surprisingly straightforward. First, they draw the water up from the deep. Then, right there on the ship, they desalinate it, get the salt out, and purify it to the absolute highest standards. And finally, it's all packaged into these massive 24,000-liter bags called flexitanks, ready to go. The whole system is just clean, efficient, and totally self-contained. Okay, so right now, you're probably thinking this is all about disaster relief and government water reserves. And you're right, it is. But here's where the whole plan takes this really fascinating turn. This isn't just about bulk water. It's about building an entire ecosystem of products around this one-of-a-kind source. So yeah, phase 1 is all about those big, strategic customers. We're talking governments that need to build up their water reserves, the military needing emergency supplies, or even hospitals that need water that is 100% free of any pathogens. These are high-stakes customers where absolute purity is everything. But the vision goes way beyond just bulk water. 24,000. Get this, that's the number of bottles their planned facility in Cyprus could produce every single hour. So you can see the shift, right? We're going from crisis supply to a high-volume, premium consumer product. And they're even innovating on the packaging. So you'll have your standard, fancy bottle for premium water, but they're also planning this eco pouch. And this is smart because it tackles the plastic problem head-on, promising a 70% reduction in plastic. It positions the brand as both high-end and eco-conscious. And if you thought they were stopping at just water, think again. The plan actually calls for developing a CBD-infused wellness drink. This just goes to show you, they're not just thinking about hydration. They are aiming squarely at that huge, booming, functional beverage market. And for the ultimate proof of just how premium they're thinking, just listen to this quote from their business plan. The goal is a cosmetics line that is, and I quote, benchmarkable to La Prairie class positioning. For anyone who doesn't know, La Prairie is one of the most ridiculously expensive, luxurious skincare brands on the planet. That tells you everything about how valuable they think this pure water really is. So we have the incredible technology and a whole range of products. But where do you actually set up an operation like this? Well, the answer is Cyprus. And let's take a look at why this little island is so absolutely critical to the entire plan. Cyprus is really a geostrategic bullseye. It gives them perfect access to huge markets in Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. You add to that its existing maritime infrastructure and the political stability of being in the EU, and suddenly it becomes the perfect nerve center for the whole operation. Bottling, logistics, everything. So what's the end game here? What's the big vision? And, how does the math work out? Let's dig into how this project is designed to scale from a cool concept into a really profitable global resource. Okay, the biggest hurdle for any desalination project is always the cost. But look at this chart. The plan is to use economies of scale to just crush that cost over time, dropping it from over 5 cents a liter in the first year to just 1.4 cents by year 5. That kind of efficiency, well, that's what makes the entire business model work. When you zoom out, you see this is about so much more than just selling water. The real vision here is to create a whole new category, to make deep ocean water the absolute gold standard for purity. So the goal is really twofold. You help solve global water security issues, and at the same time, you build these super high-margin consumer brands off the back of this amazing resource. And that kind of brings us to the ultimate question. If you can create a mobile, high-tech system to harvest the purest water on Earth and then turn it into everything from emergency supplies to luxury cosmetics, are we looking at the future of water? A future where our most essential resource becomes this incredibly complex, multi-tiered global commodity? It's definitely something to think about.